ما شاء يفعل من بعد ومكنون ربما سكر الذي بالكاف والنون ما شاء يفعل من بعد ومكنون.
alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin wassalatu wassalam ala rasulillahi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. saddid lisani nawir janani safi amani wazid barai. Alhamdulillah, viewers watching from all over the world, thank you for following Eco from Touba. We have our guest today, our sheikh as well, Serigne Muhammadul Amin Mbake, son of Mam Thierno of Darou Mohti, son of also of Sheikh Awa Balla of Mam Thierno Birahim, brother of Sheikh Ahmadou Bamba Khadim al-Mustafa, the founder of this order, the Muridiya order. Before we start, we're going to wish long life to our Khalif, Sheikh Muntakha Ibn Sheikh Muhammad al-Bashir. Allah keep him, give him good health and all the accomplishments he wants to realize for the city of Touba. And beside that, the community in Senegal and Africa, Allah help him realize them. Alhamdulillah, Sheikh Lamin, welcome to the show.
Alhamdulillah, thank you.
All right, we're going to talk about today a very interesting topic, Islamic finance. By the way, our guest today has an MBA of a master in mathematics from France. Afterwards, he went to Virginia in America, Old Dominion College, where he had also a master in finances. In Senegal also, he worked for Citibank for close to 15 years. He was the director of small and medium-sized credits over in Citibank for helping investors and others to do business with Citibank. And then he quit, or he started his new establishment, financial society here in Senegal. That's exactly what we're going to talk about. Why is it there's an alternative from the old system to the new one, Islamic finance? He's going to come back to all that details, inshallah, and explain why this alternative is something we should look up to. Again, I'll let you give your salam to our viewers. By the way, if you can watch also the show on Facebook. It's live right now, inshallah, and then you can send messages directly on that page, inshallah. Mr. Lamin, financial Islamic finance. Can you describe us what that represents, actually?
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Wassalatu wassalamu ala al-hadi al-amin. Sayyidina wa maulana Muhammadin al-Makin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi dhawi ridwan wa tamkin. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
I thank you very much, S.Fallou, and I give my salam to all the guests watching this broadcast. So first of all, I will just start to describe what is Islamic finance. You know, all of us are doing transactions with banks,
right?
Whether if you're an institution or you're an individual. We're at a stage of a society where it's mandatory. But the thing is, the banking system we're using, if you take the case of Senegal, which is over 95% Muslim, the banking system that we're using has riba in it. And all of us know that riba is forbidden by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran and religion of Islam. But also, very strongly, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said he would go to war against those practicing riba.
Right.
So we have a big problem coming from, not our fault, but from the colonization, because we inherited the system of the French colonialists, which happens to have riba in it. So now it's like it's time for the Muslims, not only in Senegal but around the world, to see how they can change. They can keep the modern way of doing transactions in finance, but also adapt it to their religion. So that's why Islamic finance is here. So in other words, Islamic finance has the same objectives as the conventional banking system, as far as satisfying customers, as far as helping you do your investment. But at the same time, Islamic finance do it in a way which is compatible to Sharia, which is applied by Islam.
Right.
So to sum it up, Islamic finance is a way of doing financial transactions in line with Islamic religion.
It's like you guys want to follow really the Sharia, do exactly what Allah wants you to do, helping out also customers. And if we talk about Islamic, I mean, finance and thinking about the history of it, I kind of always hear about London or England being the center of it. Is it finances by Europeans, or the money is coming from the Muslim countries?
It's a very good question. If I take my case myself, I'm a former director of Citibank,
right,
and I resigned from Citibank to start Islamic finance. The reason is, while I was working at Citibank, I discovered that Citibank was one of the pioneers in Islamic finance. They started a bank in the Gulf countries in 1997 called City Islamic. And actually, I was in a training in Istanbul with a lot of, that was in year 2000 or 2002.
Right.
And I discovered people working at City Islamic, and I asked them the question, what is City Islamic? They told me it is modern banking transaction, but in line with Sharia. So I started to do my research internally. And when I found out, since I'm part of the family of Khadim Rasul, and Islam is a priority to us, I took the mission with the blessing of Sheikh Murtada of Khadim Rasul, to get out Citibank and start, open the doors in West Africa where we could launch the Islamic finance system, and where we could have Islamic banks and systems where we could do our transactions in a modern way, but at the same time in line with our religion. So to come back to your question, it's a good question. Actually, what happened is Islamic finance has been promoted in the Gulf countries, like in Bahrain, in Dubai, in Qatar. And those countries, in Saudi actually,
they have the money.
They have the money.
Right.
Those are oil countries, oil-rich countries that happen to make a lot of investments in the Western countries. But those people woke up one day and were conscious that the way they're investing is not in line with Sharia, and they just woke up one day and say, we want our money to be Sharia compliant.
Right.
And actually what happened is, since a lot of big companies like Citibank, like HSBC, were looking for money, they start talking with Sharia scholars, and then putting in place a system which would satisfy the customers, but at the same time be in line with Sharia. That's why the first Islamic banks...
Is that possible?
It's very possible.
Giving your money out to a company that is not following, that is not Sharia oriented, and ask them, because the money at the funds it's about funds. The funds you're getting from the Gulf area, they kind of working also on another level for that bank that you want to be. Actually, what happened is,
you have the banks, but you have what they call private equity. Private equity is you find a sheikh or a person who's very rich who put like, up to like $100 billion or billions of dollars in an investment fund, and ask the manager of the funds to invest it so they have return.
Right.
Now those fund owners, those private equity owners, woke up one day and say, we want investment but in line with Sharia. So what the investment fund providers had to do is, they have to get Sharia scholars, which are very strong in fiqh and fiqh mu'amalat, they call it, and make sure all investments are in line with Sharia. That's what made Islamic finance strong.
It's compatible.
Yes. It's very compatible. It's very possible, actually. You need to have people very smart in finance and very smart in Sharia and put it together. And actually, why London is a capital of Islamic finance, because in London, I mean, those countries were formerly colonized by the English, and the English are very smart and very open.
Right.
And they see the flow of investment that could come.
Community over there as well.
Of course. But they're very open society. And also they see the strong possibilities of getting investments, opportunities in those countries. So they worked hard to set it up. And actually, I started Islamic finance in Senegal after I visited President Mahathir of Malaysia in 2006. But at the same time, the British people did a lot of work to establish Islamic finance, and they happen to be the capital of Islamic finance in the world right now. They established the first Islamic banks, and even people from the Gulf countries. It was kind of
mind-boggling, though, to have London as a Islamic financial capital instead of, it could have been Touba. Could have sounded much more better in our ears than to have Touba as a center of it. Hope you're going to do that on. It's going to be your next, on the next level work, inshallah. Also, you related. I mean, you talk about Sheikh Murtada, who oriented you to that particular task. And so when you came into Senegal, okay, you were in Citibank, you wanted to start it. Which group you approach? The government, the institution, financial institution? How you started it?
Okay, I started it like Murid.
Right.
You know, Shah Ahmad Bamba, our grandfather, went in the middle of nowhere and started something. Started a country in the second largest city.
Right.
His brothers, his sons, started things like that. Right. And I think the bottom line is, like the Sheikh says in Matlab al-Fawzain, is to have faith in what you're doing and to do it for God's sake.
Absolutely.
And to do it for Islam.
Mashallah.
And my thinking was Sheikh Ahmad Bamba is a mujaddid, is somebody that renovated Islam, made it like the original way, and did a lot of ijtihad, made it adapted to the modern world. So I think it's part of our work, our job as murids, to do that work of tajdeed in all fields. All
matters of walks of life.
And if you go to the walk of life of doing transactions and finance, everybody needs to do it.
Absolutely.
But if, I made it a personal goal to work hard and make it so that people do transactions in line with the religion. And I talked with Sheikh Murtada, and he encouraged me to resign and go start my own business on that line. So this is why I started the African Institute of Islamic Finance, which does advisory and training, but which actually wanted to be the door in West Africa to open Islamic finance industry, so that Islamic banks could be set up, Islamic microfinance institution could be set up. You heard about the sukuk.
The sukuk, right.
It's a lot of our work also.
Oh, yeah, you did.
Sukuk is like bonds. It's like government bonds, but Sharia compliant, which are in line with Sharia. So that's basically.
Okay, okay. We're having, again, if you're just following us from on Facebook or live here from Lamfal TV, we're having the director of the African Institute of Islamic Finance, Lamin Mbake, our friend and Sheikh as well, son of Sheikh Mamcharno of Darou Mohti. He's starting a new opportunity for Senegal, for Africa as well, for Islamic finance, and we're getting right now into the conversation. Sayyid Lamin, if you talk about the old system, I mean the system that is really seated already in Senegal, you cannot discard what we call riba. Can you tell us what's riba, to make the viewers conscious about it?
Okay, riba is the view of Islam is money is a means of making transactions between two commodities, but money doesn't have a value in itself. So to the view of Islam, money is not a commodity you could sell or buy. And actually, if you're going to the current system, conventional system, you could loan money.
Right.
I mean, you could lease money. When you go to the bank and you make a loan, actually they tell you, we give you 1 million CFA, but at the rate of X percent, which means we lease it to you, and then you pay us back.
Right.
Now, on the view of Islam, that is wrong, because in the long run it would keep the money owners, the capital owners, they will try to, make their money turn around and make more money.
Make more money, right.
Without giving, without caring about the activities and the industries. And that's exactly what happened in the 2008 crisis in the U.S.
Right.
There was a disconnection with the housing problem, starting from the subprimes.
The big burst.
The big burst.
Right.
And actually what happened was there was a big disconnection between the financial sphere and the physical sphere. And one of the pillars of Islamic finance is you cannot make money out of money. You should make money out of activities. So the real economy is very strong here.
Right.
And actually after the 2008 crisis, all the solutions that were taken by the US government and most of the institutions in the world to make a stable financial system, helped was basically to go into Islamic finance, to promote the real economy. That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't want riba. So everything that Islam denies is something that is bad for the Muslim, but bad for the whole humanity on the whole. So there's a lot of ayahs in the Quran.
They explain.
What is that's exactly what happened in 2008 crisis. How big it is, it will just go down. Another one is ahallahul bay'a wa harrama riba. So you can make profit after a transaction. If you sell something, if you buy something, it's
got to be merchandise. It's got to be a transaction instead of just
it's got a real economy.
Money thing, right?
Beside real economy is forbidden.
Right.
So you cannot have speculations. You can have all the bad things that are happening right now in the world. So that's the position of Islam. Now our former system is basically based on that. Our economy, because we inherited the economy of the Western world, and they don't have a problem with riba because they live that way. Now we're at a point where Muslim countries are getting conscious and say, actually, this is very bad for us. So we need to take a solution to get modern transaction, but at the same time in line with our religion.
Right. So how though when you came in, it's kind of you know. I want to know if you come to Senegal, you approach a government that is using, because riba is riba. No matter how much interest you put in, it's 1% is riba,
yes.
X% is riba as well. So is it compatible with the your institution working with another one that is using riba, associating your finances, and at the same time calling it a financial, an economic, lending that money to other people?
Okay, actually, we don't have, our institution is an institute right now, which is promoting Islamic finance, which is working hard to set up an Islamic finance industry in West Africa.
Right.
And actually, the same efforts are made in other countries. And by the way, I benchmarked my institutions after I met with the president of Malaysia, Mohammed Mahathir, in 2006, which country has a strong Islamic finance system. So the first point is to lay the foundations for setting up an Islamic finance industry.
Right.
Now, if you take the case of Senegal, there's not an Islamic bank. There's an Islamic bank that used to be an Islamic bank at its beginning, but then it changed into a conventional bank.
You just had to, just keeping the name though.
They kept the name, but since we started our forum, it was bought by the Saudis, and who wants to change it into an Islamic bank. It's in the process. It's not already complete. So today we don't have a complete Sharia compliant Islamic bank. Now that's why that's where we're working. There's a lot of initiatives of Murid banks and those kind of stuff. And I myself am working very hard on setting up a very Sharia compliant Islamic bank, and I think it's in line with the philosophy of Sheikh Ahmad Bamba. So, but you go to some countries, you have institutions that are completely Islamic. If you take the case of Dubai Islamic Bank, it's one of the biggest banks in the planet, and they started in 1975, and they call them the fully fledged Islamic bank. Now, to some countries, you have conventional banks, knowing that people are realizing they don't want to put their money where riba is, and they want to capture that market. They start opening.
It's like they do it in England.
Yes. Right. But England is different, because England, they do it very good. England, they have separate Islamic banks.
Oh, they do?
Yes. But you have conventional banks that are opening windows of Islamic finance. But now you have the problem of mixing riba money with halal money.
Because I saw that in Senegal as well. I saw some banks like 4 years ago. I think that was under your initiative.
Yes.
Why I saw some windows were open and they were like lending money. I saw a window sitting next to on the corner of a bank that are making interest, and they will call you on the Islamic window. I was like, wow, what's going on?
It's a good question. And actually, to answer that question, there are some fuqahas.
Right.
There are some Sharia scholars very strong in Islamic finance across the world. They're doing forums and everything, and doing fatwas. So the latest from them is you cannot mix riba money with conventional money. But if you are on a riba system and you want to change into an Islamic system, you're allowed to do so. But you have to separate the funds. You have to have separate funds, separate accountings, and then everything. And actually, I teach that a lot in my training seminars.
Oh, you do that.
So if you say like the company you're talking about, I think it's Pamecas.
Right.
If they decide to convert to a fully Islamic system,
possible.
they can take money and put it in an Islamic way, separate, and then grow it so that it becomes Islamic system.
Right.
And actually in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say, if you are in riba and you decide to go
on the other side,
right, you can keep your capital. But
it's convertible.
Unless it's convertible, unless you don't go back to riba. If you have
how about the interest you made before on the first fund?
You know, Islam is a religion that if you do your tawbah and then you can forget about what happened. You know, I mean, most of the best Sahabas were,
right,
you know, like before, a former,
right,
you know,
right,
on the other side.
Intention, though. Anytime you have the right intention to do the right stuff, Allah is forgivable.
Right, it's forgivable, and you make sure you're committed not to come back
to the sin.
That's very important.
Before that's beautiful. And how the state is it? They listening to you right now? The government they have any?
Okay, good question. Actually, one of the things I did with the African Institute of Islamic Finance is I organized Islamic finance forums. And actually,
we're going to come back to that.
Yes, yes. The first Islamic finance forum I organized was in 2010, and actually we are approaching the 5th one on March 19. And actually, what we do in Islamic finance forums is we invited the best expert of Islamic finance. We invited countries, because the majority of Muslim countries were like us. They were dependent on the colonial system, riba system, and they're pulling themselves out of that. I spent 4 or 5 months in Bahrain, and actually the conversion is going very good, because the majority of the population wants Sharia compliant transactions.
Absolutely.
So what I do in the firms, I bring like experts, I bring bankers, Islamic bankers that went from the conventional to the system. I bring regulators, central banks, and I bring experts in microfinance, and they exchange with our experts, with our government, with our regulators, with our private people, and to change best practices, not to start, I mean, from scratch, and to show them this is what we did, so we can benchmark those solutions.
But is it the only institute that is existing right now, right here in Africa, that started really into financial?
It's the strongest institute.
Is it?
I mean, there's some people that start
who following up.
Yes, but it's very difficult, because there's I mean, all experts around the world agree that Islamic finance, you know, we're talking about a $3 trillion volume around the world.
Right.
But the most important thing is the growth rate is around between 15 and 25%.
Oh.
So it's growing very fast.
Very fast, right.
But all experts agree that even with that growth rate, it could be double. It could be 50% growth rate. But the problem is we don't have enough experts.
Right.
There's a few experts mastering finance and Sharia to help the governments, to help to do trainings for Islamic finance. That's why our first job was to do training, and actually we trained over 2,000 experts in West Africa. We did training up to Dubai and Kenya, and actually even in 2013 I trained 150 business people in the US who are non-Muslims, because they're interested into setting up Islamic system to attract the Islamic finance funds.
Right. So the government should have follow up with the educational system. I mean, converting certain branches at the university into the financial system, not letting you only by yourself your means to create that opportunity.
Yes,
are they following in terms of education?
They're following, but not at the rate.
I saw they send some students at some private universities and stuff, some in the virtual thing area, but are they giving you students to train?
Actually, the government is doing good stuff, but not enough.
Right.
Because the rate we need to change. Because you know what happened with Senegal is a developing country, and you know, you felt, maybe you heard about economy, but it's the turn of Africa right now, because all investors are going to Africa, because the return on investment is high in our countries, and there's everything to be built. Highways, we have, you don't have highways on anything, so all monies are coming to Africa, especially Islamic finance money. And they were very attracted to countries like Senegal, which is 95% Muslim, and which is relatively stable compared to other countries. So there's huge opportunities, but we're lagging behind because the government is not following the way it should, and also we don't have enough experts to take the lead. And actually, I don't blame them much. I think the reason is they don't know the stakes. involved into Islamic finance. If you go to Tuba or any other city, the majority of the people, if they had the choice to do modern transactions in line with the religion, they would leave the old system.
The old system, absolutely.
So there's a huge demand. But I think we were working very slowly. I took the initiative to start it big. I'm doing the way I can. I get the help of the government, but it's not enough, definitely. Neither on the training side, neither on the expertise side. And also on the expertise, with my first forum, I initiated the idea of a sukuk, which was one of the conclusions of my first Islamic finance forum. And actually, when they were issuing the sukuk,
what is the sukuk?
The sukuk is an Islamic bond. It's like when the state of Senegal needs money, needs 100 billion to build a highway or something, they go seek money in the international markets. Now there's some investors that are Sharia compliant, they would invest only if it's Sharia compliant. But taking that case, my firm was probably one of the few firms in Africa able to help on that. But actually we were not involved. We just still have the complex of taking some foreign firms, and the problem with those firms is they don't understand the local legislation, and they don't understand also the fiqh muamalat.
The sukuk actually is just to attract money from outside then.
From outside.
Right, that's good. And also if you see, I kind of look over that though and see could be a fight maybe between countries that are supporting those those investment. If you the old system, you have the European community behind that, the financial funds coming from Asia, from the Gulf countries. It's more of the Muslim countries that are investing on that, and also the Chinese are coming with their own investment. But it is not a fight on a high level for
it's very
safeguarding this security zone they kept for a long time.
Actually, it's a good question. But
France, for instance,
Yes, it's a good question, but it's very paradoxical actually. It's a good paradigm. Actually, what happened is it's the opposite. Everybody would think that if you try to promote Islamic finance systems,
what we all think,
Europeans or Americans or British would go against, but it's the opposite.
Is it?
It's the opposite. Islam has a terrible image in the Western world. People, when they talk about Islam, talk about terrorism, talk about bad stuff. But on the Islamic economy
side... impact on that?
No, it's the opposite. It's strange. On the Islamic finance side, it's completely the opposite. I think it's because one reason is with the crisis of the subprime crisis, or even people that are non-Muslim realize that Islamic finance system is more stable, gives more stability. Islamic economy is more stable than the other economies. But also Islamic, I give an example of countries where Islamic banking are operating. In some countries, 2/3 of the users of those Islamic banks are non-Muslims because they know it's better, it's more secure,
much more profit.
They're getting much more profit and they're more secure because Islam wants equity. Islam doesn't want the bank to take advantage of the customer, neither the customer to take advantage of the bank. There's what's called adl in the Quran, where they want on every transaction that
to be rightly done.
To be rightly done. So what happened is because of that, and because of also the interest involved in the GCC countries, in the Gulf countries, who have a lot of huge investment capacity. That's why even now, non-Muslim and Europeans and Americans are smarter in Islamic finance than Muslim countries.
Muslim themselves. That's ironic.
And I think it's something we have to thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala about that. And I think it means that if we push, we can get a huge system of a halal system in finance and in business overall, what you call the business halal.
Well, with the interest, Sheikh, that people are putting, giving the customers in terms of 12%, then that's a lot for small investors to have that much of interest add up to what they borrow from the bank. If they understood really, how Islamic bank works, I'm sure they will help. They will follow you in that line. But it's now time maybe to open an institution that can lend out the money, like small, small credits and medium ones, just like you had in Citibank. And now, Sheikh, explain about riba, investment, how the old and the new system work. But being a grandson of Sheikh Ahmadou Bamba, having Tuba on the other side, and so so much financial problem we're having, and lots of money is generated in Touba during the Mughal time, and disciples are coming, all of this are from around the world investing in Touba. Are you ready to seize that opportunity to do something for Touba, opening the first maybe African or Islamic bank in Touba? Are you ready for that?
Yes, I'm ready, and I think it's a huge opportunity. But before that, I just wanted to touch upon what you just said before. Right. If we take an example of a microfinance, conventional microfinance company in Senegal. Right. If you're in any business, I mean, if you're doing transportation, if you're buying and selling, if you're doing construction, it is recognized by the Central Bank of Senegal that if you calculate the interest rate, let's say if it's 12% or 15% or 13%, plus the other fees you're paying, it adds up to around a minimum of 25%.
Right, at the end.
At the end. And to make a, obvious calculation, there's a huge, there's few fields right now in the, there's few fields right now in the economic sector where you could make a profit or you could make a margin of over 20%. So if you're making a margin of 15 or 20%, right, and your interest payment plus your fees adds up to 25%, you're a loser in the beginning. So, where you start, you're losing money. So there's no way with microfinance you can
make money on it.
To make money on it.
Sad though.
So in the beginning,
lot of especially women in Senegal, I see them borrowing lots of money from bank, and really at the end having a lot of problems.
So there's a big illusion in the first year on the first
houses to seize their materials, their guarantees and stuff.
Yes, and actually that's the problem of microfinance. In the beginning, everybody was applauding microfinance because it's helping, the lady. It's helping the lady on the countryside. It's helping all the people that didn't have access to credit. But in the end, they realize it's making them poorer than before.
Absolutely.
Because they come up with a lot of, a lot of debts they can't. They can't pay.
Right.
And actually, that's why Islam forbids interest rates. And actually, the way of doing Islamic microfinance, if I give an example, is I go to you and say, okay, I have a. You tell me you have a project of, I don't know, raising whatever lambs, cows, or whatever.
Right.
So the bank is a partner with you. The bank is going to put the money, and you guys work together, and you share the profits if it's profitable. And if there's a loss, and you guys, everybody did you share the losses?
Right.
So in that case, you don't have the situation we have.
Just for the first benefits, is continual benefits.
It depends. It can be both. Right. It can be both. So bottom line is here, Islamic finance would help you make, make good out of a project, and then you don't. The bank doesn't take all the risk and then make you bear the risk. Right. So it's very important. Now coming to Touba, I think our Sheikh Ahmad Bamba did a masterpiece, what I called. I made a presentation in the United Nations on the latest.
I saw the video. By the way, I'm going to have that video on a special show, inshallah. It was beautiful when I watched it. It's a promise, viewers. I'm going to have that show. Beautiful introduction of Touba and also financial institutions, and he did a wonderful job at the United Nations. We're going to come back to that on a special show, inshallah. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. And actually, what I called it Muridonomics.
Muridonomics, right.
Okay, Murid and economics, I made the word Muridonomics, and Islamic finance, a perfect match. And which means it's very simple. Sheikh Ahmad Bamba is a mujaddid.
MashaAllah.
He gave us a view of Islam, which is similar to the one of the Sahabas. And after the Sahabas, there was a big renaissance of Islam, and actually Muslim people civilized the rest of the world. And actually even now, even though the country is said, but it's completely the opposite. And I think through the masterpiece of Sheikh Ahmad Bamba, the renaissance of Islam will come through the Murid community.
Absolutely.
And then why I say that, because there's a lot of literature about the success of Murids in the economic sector. And actually I think the bottom line of that is Sheikh Ahmad Bamba was a mujaddid on the ibadat, on the our vertical relation with God. When we're praying, we're doing, but also on the muamalat, on the transaction side.
Right. On that, I heard even when he used to send someone to buy something for him, he used to tell him, go to the cheapest market where you can, the cheapest price.
Yes.
Just to encourage them to be very open in terms of interactions.
Yes, and I think Shah Ahmad Bam, the Murid system is very successful because it's the ideal Islamic system.
Right.
And if you go to the ideal Islamic system, you look about the Islamic economy and Islamic finance, you see even the non-Muslims are going after it because it's stable, it's secure, it's profitable.
Right.
So I think the success of the Murids derive from the high understanding of Islam the Sheikh had, and he applied to his disciples.
Right.
And I think it comes back to Islamic finance. So now, there's the Sheikh Ahmad Bamba says, وَهَبْ لَنَا ذُرِّيَّةً تُدِّيمُ الْعَمَلَ سَهْلًا يَا خَدِيمُ ذُرِّيَّةً طَيِّبًا تُجَدِّدُ نَهْجَ نَبِيِّ الْمُصْطَفَى تَجْتَهِدُ. I want people that do tajdeed on the Islam, but that do ijtihad. Now, tajdeed is to make Islam bear the same values as it was born during the time of the Sahabas.
Right.
There's no change. But ijtihad means to make them modern.
Compatible.
We have to do both.
Life, right.
And I think we have a huge work in Tuba, in me and you and all the Murids to apply that.
Because it's sometimes kind of mind-boggling though to have like a huge amount of money and deposit it to a bank that is really asking for interest.
Yes.
And they won't give you the money.
Yes.
They will work for that sums of money.
Yes.
And it's very sad though.
And coming back to Mawlana Abul Fawzain, the ideal Islamic society Sheikh Ahmad Bamba is creating is Tuba, is where everything is lying on this worldly life and in afterlife. So in Tuba, I think they should be the leaders of establishing Islamic finance. But I just give an example.
Right.
All the money the Khalif
depositing
in conventional banks.
About the conventional banker giving the interest.
Yes, I think they have no choice. I think it's our work to develop new alternatives. I give an example. Let's say the Khalif deposit 5 billion CFAs for the construction of the mosque to a bank.
Right.
That bank can lend to a nightclub that same money to do bad stuff.
So I will prevent that. It's not going to happen.
No, but I'm just saying. I'm just saying there's huge challenges.
Right.
The other thing also.
To say that so you can challenge people to really start doing the right thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I agree completely with you. And then on the other side, if the Murid are very dynamic in the economy. If you go to major bank, they're the major shareholders. They're very successful in this business. But all those businesses are deposited in conventional banks with riba. If you go take the Magal of the Tuba, the potential resources of the Magal is controlled by conventional banks with riba. Why? I think it's high time that the Muslims overall, the Murids in particular, take conscience of making their own bank in line with Sharia. To finance their, projects and everything.
I'm kind of confident. The Srin Tuba sent you to learn all that you've learned to really start this. This is really something that we have to stop and then, start doing something very. So with Tuba, you talk to the Khalif about it. You talk, seeing how things work over there. If you wanted to start it right now, how are you going to do? You're going to have. Where are you going to get the money from? I'm just asking. From the community, from the Khalif, or from other funds coming from.
It's all possible. Big Gulf bank investors are starting Islamic banks in countries like us. Like Morocco, before Morocco Islamic finance system. They work harder than us. They have a complete legislation in line with Islamic finance, and Gulf countries are setting up Islamic banks. Also, you can have Islamic banks set up using the shareholders who are Muslims,
absolutely,
and who are very active in the Murid communities and Tuba. It's no big deal. You can also have a part of that shareholding used by the regular people.
Right.
I've been selling shares, so everything is possible. I think we need just to have smart people.
Right. And when you start it, I think you can even have like a window for Zakat house inside, and Idea house, whatever you call them for the city. And this is something really that can expand to a
it's a very interesting subject. That part of Zakat and everything, that part of Islamic finance, Islamic economy is this is for-profit economy, and this is the non-for-profit side. And just to give you an example of non-for-profit side, Yeah, I have here the image of the Kaaba. If you go to the Kaaba on the Hajj, there's a huge building next to the Kaaba where there's like fine hotels and a lot of rich people are coming. That building is called for a waqf. Waqf is an investment maybe of 100 billion that the king has done, and he said the return on investment should go to the Haram. To finance the home.
Right.
Now our community, the Murid community, Khalif, and all of us are financing 10 billion on a mosque.
Right.
If you build,
Sheikh Muntaha, recently he was paying the muhaddin, the imams. That's a lot of money he was generating.
Yes,
even to pay.
But I give you a concrete example.
That would be beautiful to
I give
have
you
that kind of thing.
A concrete example. Waqf is something very Islamic. Actually, the Waqf is the original of the foundations. You see the Bill Gates foundations. The original idea comes from Islam. It's something you put in place.
Right.
And usually you do it, like Sheikh Murtada has done a lot of stuff, so that even after you're not here, it continues to help in Islam, and you get the benefits.
Right.
And then I'll give you an example. Let's say we take 5 billion CFA, we build a waqf, for example, to modernize Marché Ocas, to make it like a shopping mall.
Beautiful, right.
You can have 300 people working there. And you say all the profits will go to finance the mosque.
Absolutely.
And you can have it forever.
Right.
And that you can drain maybe at, I don't know, 2 billion or 3 billion or 5 billion every year to finance the mosque.
Maybe
and you did one time.
I was talking about Ayn Rahma is coming soon, because I was like, we have to modernize it. Have have stands by the mosque and sell the water and have the the money finance the mosque of Tuba. All these ideas, maybe your institute could really take in charge. Beautiful.
So I think that's say that we have a lot of challenges as Murids.
Absolutely.
I think Madlabul Fawzin is a masterpiece. Is the roads, but we have to make it happen. We have to work around that and then make it happen.
MashaAllah, MashaAllah. Well, we're having Serigne Lamine Bakke, of course, head of the African Institute of Islamic Finance, and being our guest today, and really explaining why we should really have a turnaround and go on the halal money, not the riba money. The riba, a lot of interest going on from the banks in Senegal, a country of a 98 or something percentage of Muslims. We should really open our eye, and especially the disciples, inhabitants of Tuba. That's what we need. We letting all these banks coming, giving us their money, and then putting interest and taking a lot of money back for different investment. Alhamdulillah. I think we're gonna open the line. He said a while ago, and we opened the line. If you want to join us and say something about the program, you'll feel free to do it, inshallah. Serigne Lamine, we have about 10 minutes left. We're gonna quickly move forward. You're having a forum coming soon, though. What can you tell us about the forum?
Okay, now the purpose of the forum is it's called Islamic Finance Forum West Africa. It's maybe one of the top 3 forums, Islamic Finance Forum in the world. And just to give you an example, in 2012, I was invited at Harvard University to attend the Islamic Finance Forum at Harvard. It was 2012. I was on my 2nd or 3rd forum. They were on their 10th forum, and they are not a Muslim country.
That's sad.
And there were a lot of experts in Islamic finance who happen not to be Muslim.
Right.
So the forum is to gather the best experts in Islamic finance, to gather a lot of investors from the Gulf countries to promote Islamic finance industry. And we were very successful. We did the first one in 2010 with the President Abdullah Wad. And since then, all the governments, in some forums we invited the IDB President, Islamic Development Bank, who came in here. In some forums we had the Governor's Council of Nigeria, who is now the Emir of Kano. And we have the IMF, the World Bank, we have all those people. We have the microfinance people. So the next one is, inshallah, on March 19th. And actually, I hope we would work together with your channels.
Absolutely, inshallah.
But basically, on this one, we are doing a lot of working on private equity, helping get the investors from the Gulf countries in Islamic finance to come to invest in our projects like Jamnado and stuff. I have also a workshop on fintech. Fintech is finance and technology together. you know, you have all the stories of mobile money, sending money and all this kind, and working very hard on that field also. So we are gathering the best expert because I think
I heard it works very well in a country like Indonesia, for instance.
Even in Africa, I think
it does.
It grows faster in Africa than in other countries.
Okay.
I think very soon the banks will be online. Everything will be online.
Right.
So we're combining that with Islamic finance to make
I see all the money they've been sending to the peanuts. I mean the cultivators, and there's a lot of problems. They could have just easily make it online on their own numbers. It'll be faster.
Yes.
So
that's why we have a huge. I hope you will attend that.
Inshallah,
workshop.
I will do that. Inshallah.
We have also a workshop on Islamic microfinance because it's growing very fast, and also we have a lot of zakat, waqfs, all those non-for-profit Islamic finance. And finally, we have a workshop on Sharia because Islamic finance to work efficiently on any Islamic bank or Islamic microfinance, Islamic fund or waqf, you have to have experts from Sharia who master the Sharia of transactions, which is called fiqh muamalat, and who can state that this transaction is conformed to Sharia compliant or not. And I think in Tuba and Darul Musin, we have a huge reservoir of young people that master the Quran and they have all this knowledge. We need to get them into the system. Because if we have, let's say, I mean, we happen to be, let's say maybe in 5 years we have 30% of Islamic banks. We need to have a body at the national level or West African level where very smart people with Sharia can, you know,
back you up.
Can back us up and make statements. And saying this Sharia compliant or not Sharia compliant. So that's workshops we have.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. And is a country that is really doing well as an example? Because I hear sometimes some countries like Indonesia or Malaysia, especially Malaysia in terms of financial Islamic finance though. Is it a country that like we can look up to as a role model and follow their way of doing?
Malaysia is doing excellent, and actually that's where I started. Actually, I remember I went to Sheikh Salim Bakke and after my father and tell him that I wanted to go to Malaysia to bring that kind of system, and I met with President Mahathir who did very good into a modern society, but a society conform, I mean in conformity with Sharia. And actually you go to Malaysia, you see some very high-tech companies doing treating toxic waste and stuff, and then actually they have zakat sent to the Quranic schools to help. I visited the Islamic University of Malaysia, and I said this should be in Tuba.
Inshallah, it's going to happen, Sheikh.
It's going to happen.
I'm sure. Well, we're having Sayyid Lamin today, Bakke, again, director of African Institute of Islamic Finance. Our Sheikh as well, son of Serigne Mam Thierno Bakke, of Sheikh Awa Balla, of Serigne Mam Thierno Birahim, the brother and good right-handed of our great Sheikh Ahmadou Bamba, Khadim Rasul. That's Echo from Tuba. You can follow us again on Facebook. You can send us your message over there, and then inshallah, if you want as well, on the sticker there's the number right in front of you. You can call up and tell us what you think, or if you have a question to ask. There's a forum again. He said it coming up. We're gonna inshallah try to meet the knowledgeable people over there and see what we can do together, inshallah. You talked about Sidi Murtada before, and Mamor Bakke is doing very well in terms of investing in education, building a Sheikh Ahmadou Bamba University. There's a lot of things that are being done in Tuba. Are you kind of close with Sidi Mamor in order to do something together?
We're very close, and actually
really he needs help though.
The actual Khalif happens to be my uncle, because my mother is son of Sin Basiru.
MashaAllah.
But also I grew up in Sidi Murtada's house before, so we're very close, and I'm very proud of him.
I see him not struggling, but he's investing all his time and energy to have this, you know.
He's doing good. I think he's promoting the ijtihad sides of the community, which means we have to get think tanks. We have to get very smart people like you. I would not say like you, but like but you know, going around those subjects and thinking and you know, getting good ideas and providing it to the Khalifs and to the decision makers of the community, so you can advance. I think the Moors have huge opportunities to do to become the renaissance of Islam. And I think it's something we should work on.
MashaAllah, it's going to happen, inshallah. And also, there's a new university being built, this University of Sheikh Al-Khadim.
Yes.
The new one from
UCAB.
UCAB. I hope there's going to be some help from them. Sheikh, I'm going to ask you kind of a question. Are you in politics or?
Not yet.
Not yet. You have some relationship with the president, the actual one?
Yeah, actually, even the president and the former president, you know, like to give an example, when I first did the Islamic Finance Forum, I wrote to the Minister of Finance like an anonymous. And actually, they realized the huge potential. They told me we could help you not with money, but we could accompany you technically. And since then, every time I do a forum, I write to the president. They accept and say, okay, we'll preside it. So I think they all know. In the
foreseeable future, there's any maybe you can jump into politics, or I just want you know. I feel like sometimes when you have ideas like this, politics is not something negative. You have to have people helping you in society.
Definitely, I think I came back to the what Chairman Bamba say.
We need that right now. We need someone who really stands up for the interests of our community, for Tuba, for the disciples, and we have knowledge. Someone who went to learn the right stuff.
I think when the Sheikh said, "Izil murid la yura'abud akhir Rahman haythu qasada," I think as long as politics is in line with what we do.
It's just like you into the financial system. You on the right side, not on the riba side. It's the same thing. If you're in the politics, also just stay on the right path. I'm not pushing you to do politics though, but we need someone to help us.
I think politics is essential in Islam. But if I had to do it for Islam and for the Murid community, as long as it's that way, I have no problem.
S.Fallou, I have you in my mind too, though, by S.Fallou as well. Okay. MashaAllah. And also, we see the country being kind of really reverberated in terms of investment and new ideas into call Senegal Rising. President Sall is investing a lot of money in Jamiajo, investing also throughout the country. Some investments are coming. Are you involved? I mean, your ideas getting into the Senegal Rising thing?
I'm involved at Islamic Finance way from my own initiatives, but not from the government level. But I think even Jamiajo and everywhere
they will need money. They've been lending money from all over.
Actually, they expect me to help them in the next forum to bring investors, what we call private equity investors, to invest in those projects.
Is there any private equity money from on the Ila Tuba thing?
No, I think that was from China. But I think the government expects a lot from our forum to get investment from. Because what happened is in Jamiajo is two things. Is like investments at this level, you say like a project of 100 billion CFA, the government cannot borrow that money because they have limits. And also the local banks doesn't have the capacity. Now this capacity to find indirect investments. If you go to the GCC, the Gulf countries, you find investment funds that have 100 billion. And they're looking for opportunities to invest and get return on investment as long as it's Sharia compliant. So we invite a lot of those people. So we're working for for the country. But I think we have a duty as Muslims, as Murids, given our dynamism in economy, to look for ways we can do that for Tuba and we can do that for the nation as a whole. Because I think if the Murids know the legacy of Sheikh Ahmad Bamba and they work hard on it, they would not only be leaders in Senegal but in Africa. They would be a role model, like somebody like Adam Kojo said. They could be the driver in the economy in a lot of fields.
Absolutely, the driving force of it, of course. And there's quality people to really realize that. So investment, that's really like Tuba. I'm going to come back before because we have 2 minutes left for Tuba. What's your first-hand plans right now? Because when I hear about Tuba getting all the money coming out during Magal time, 200 billion, 250 billion cash money sitting in banks right now. So what is it you can do? We should start as disciples to do right now to recuperate that money and then maybe put it on safe hands.
I think we need to have our own banks, our own Islamic banks based out of Tuba. We need to have investment funds where everybody can get in, but also we have the dynamics, merchants, industrial people of Murids putting in there. And also I think that would facilitate the investments in Tuba for the Murids. Because there's no way, this is a huge potential of the Murid community. and then we take that money and then put it in the hands of foreigners or other people, because who controls your economy controls you.
Well, absolutely.
So in the long run, we have to find ways to control our economy, to keep that dynamism, and just to put it the way we want.
Absolutely.
And I think there's no major barrier right now. I think the bottom line is to start think tanks to realize that what the Sheikh Ahmad Bamba laid for us is foundations where if you work smart and we were dedicated and we do it for God's sake, we will succeed, inshallah.
Absolutely. I hope he's going to drop in good ears, though. Beautiful message. And now, just recently, because we have 2 minutes left, though, for our salam alaiks, the Sheikh we just lost the head of the order, Sheikh Sidi al-Mukhtar al-Baki, who did great accomplishments, though. He built the minaret, made them 7, and renovated the Mosque of Tuba. He's building another one and also the unity he claimed. He called for the Islamic community. This is a word you can say before you come on the last word on Sheikh Muntaqa.
Okay, I think it's I had a very personal relation
with him, right?
With him, because very obvious, because he bears the name of Sani Sheikh Al-Bala, my grandfather.
Wow,
and he was educated with my dad, and actually I bear the name of his father, Muhammad Lamin Bara. So I was on his side. And what a lot of people don't know is he didn't give importance to the worldly life, but he was very connected. And actually, even what we were talking about, I had a lot of discussions for him, and then he was very forward-looking. But I think it's very tough for the Murids, but I think we have to thank God, because he lived 93 or 94 years, and he didn't lose a second. I think he did everything for God's sake. He did his part in the work of Sani Tuba. And in the same token, I think we need to learn from him, and like you said, one of his best success is to put the whole community together. I just give you an example of his how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala supported him on that. He wanted all the countries to have one tabaski or correlated prayers. It didn't stay that only. It reached to the Saudi Arabia. I think when he was here, it's the first time we had.
Absolutely, we had the whole community having the Eid al-Kabir at one day. That was beautiful.
So I think that's one of the miracles of Sheikh Ahmad Bamba.
Right. And on Sheikh Muntaqa, the new Khalif of the order, son of Serigne Basiru of Sheikh Ahmad Bamba Khadim Rasul.
On Sheikh Muntaqa, I have also the same closeness, because
someone would he loves knowledge, though.
Yeah, he loves knowledge, and since he's my uncle, I cannot say much. But what I can say is, even before he was a Khalif, he called me to remind me, where do you stand on Islamic banks? Because I think he's very smart. He traveled a lot. He was very educated, and there's a lot of hope from all the Murids, including myself, that we would accomplish a lot of things. And I personally hope that on his Khilafah, I pray that he stays a very, very long time. I think we can promote, the think tanks.
He's very open. He's going to be open.
He's open, and I think there's an opportunity for the Murid community to show that the Islamic Renaissance
is happening now.
Is happening.
Right. Hope, alhamdulillah, and hope the first bank going to happen in the caliphate of Serigne Muntaqa. We're giving our ziyar to him, to his family, and the whole Murid community as well. So thanks, Serigne Lamin, for coming.
Thank you very much.
And good luck for the forum. We're going to be there, inshallah. Inshallah. You can always follow us on Facebook. You can always follow us also live on Wednesday, 3 o'clock, right here on Lamfal TV, inshallah. Until next time, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuhu. Jërëjëf Serigne Touba. Jaraw lakk Maam Cheikh Ibrahima Fall.
رنا سكر الذي بالكاب والنون ما شاء يفعل من بعد ومكنون رنا سكر الذي بالكاب والنون